I'm Seva and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be making healthy mini apple pies. But before we get into the video, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you don't miss another one of my videos. Alright, let's get into it. So as promised, I did come up with a healthy apple pie recipe video, and this one is actually mini apple pie, so you can definitely control your portions here. Now everything here is going to be homemade, but of course you can customize this to whatever you want. You can go and buy your own pie crust if you want. It's totally up to you. And since we are using almond flour today, this is going to be low carb and gluten free. Now if you guys are interested, it's super simple. I can make a separate video for you guys on how to make almond flour. So if you're interested in that, just let me know in the comment section below. So now that we're in September, I thought what a better time to make a fall little dessert. And what's the first dessert you think of when you think of fall? I know I think of apple pies. And these, yeah, they're mini, so they have nice portion control for you guys, but they're also really, really cute. Now what's also great about this recipe is if you have leftover apples, you're more than welcome to add them to a cereal or your oatmeal in the morning. And I do recommend that you eat these right away, but you are able to store them in the fridge for 2 to 3 days, just a couple days, but do keep in mind they are going to get a little bit soft once you let them sit. Now we're going to have two separate lists for ingredients here. We're going to have our apple pie crust and then our filling. So for the crust, you're just going to need some almond flour, some baking powder, some cinnamon, a little bit of salt, an egg, some honey, and coconut oil. And for our little apple filling, you're going to need, of course, some apples. You're going to need some butter. You can use coconut sugar, or I just have brown sugar here, and then a spice blend. So I have here a pumpkin spice blend, and inside is cinnamon, ginger, and nutmeg, and allspice. But if you don't have this, you're more than welcome to just add a couple of those different ingredients and make your own little spice blend. And as always, you can find all of the nutrition facts and the label down below in my description box. But without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to 325 degrees. So I'm going to run and do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so now our oven has started. It's not completely preheated yet, but we're on our way. Now you're going to want to prepare your muffin tins. So instead of using normal muffin tins today, I'm going to use these. So you can use them either way that you want, this way or this way. But if you don't have these, normal muffin tins are going to work perfectly. Okay, so now we can just set these aside. Now we're going to start with our crust. So we're just going to mix all of the dry ingredients together and all of the wet ingredients together and then mix them all together. So we're going to start with our almond flour, then we're going to add in our baking powder, then our cinnamon, and our salt. Then you're just going to take a whisk or a spoon and just blend this all together, just so everything mixes in with the flour nicely. You don't just have like one clump of cinnamon or salt. It's going to be pretty gross. Okay, so now this is done. Now we're just going to take another bowl and mix the egg, coconut oil, and our cinnamon. So the first thing I'm going to do is crack open our egg. Now with eggs, I always like to leave them out of the fridge for a little bit so they get kind of room temperature, but that's completely up to you. So we have our egg, we have our coconut oil, and you are going to want to melt that. Just take a few seconds in the microwave. And our honey. I always say if you don't have these mini spatulas, you need them in your life. And we're preheated. Okay, so now we're just going to whisk this egg with our honey and coconut oil. And then all we're going to do is mix in the dry ingredients once we're done. Okay, so just add in our dry ingredients. Now I like to just do this little by little, make sure everything is nice and smooth. Now for this part you can use a standing mixer, you can use your hands. I'm just gonna now go on and use a spatula. Now, your hands are always going to be the best tool, so it's just going to be quicker using a standing mixer. Okay, so our dough is all done. You should have something that looks like this. Now if you find that your dough is a little bit too dry or crumbly, you're just going to want to add some more honey. Now we're just going to let this dough sit for about 5 minutes, and while I wait for that, I'm just going to start cutting up our apples. Now for the apples, you're only going to need about 2 medium-sized apples, but since these are smaller, they're not Honeycrisp or anything, I'm going to use 4. And then if I have leftover, like I said before, I like to just put them in some oatmeal or have them for breakfast just on its own. So you're just going to want to dice these very small. Now, if you haven't seen it already, make sure to go check out my stovetop cinnamon apples. It's going to be pretty similar to what I'm going to do with these apples, just obviously without the apple pie crust. You're just going to want to dice these as small as you can and try to make them all around the same size so they cook nice and evenly on the stove. What I like to do is cut on all 4 sides of the apple first, so I get kind of a square, but not really. And then I start slicing them and chopping them from there. And then I just omit basically the sides, the rounded parts that I cut off, or I just eat them the way they are. Okay, so I'm just going to do this with the other 3 apples, and then I'll show you guys what we're going to do next. Okay, so all of our apples are chopped, and it's been about 5 minutes. So now we're going to work on our dough. So what you're going to want to do is take about 1 to 2 tablespoons of your dough, so I'm just going to use one of these, and you're just going to press it into your muffin tin or one of these, and you're just going to want to make sure you press to have a little divot of where you're going to put your apples. Now, I don't have to do that because mine already has a little divot. So I like to just measure out everything first and make sure I have a nice even ball in all of these, and then I'm just going to start pressing them out after. So those muffin tins turned out to be too much of a pain. So all I did was just use the normal muffin tin. I just took those same pieces of the crust that you saw before and I just flattened them out with the rolling pin. And I'm just going to put them in our muffin tins. Now all we're going to do is put these in the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes just until they're golden brown, and then we're going to start on our apples. Okay guys, so muffin tins are definitely the thing to go with here. Those other tins that I was using before were just turning into being just such a pain and not working out for me, so definitely just stick with your plain little muffin tins. Okay, so now we have our pie crust just sitting over there cooling off. And now what we're going to do is take on to about medium heat. We're going to put in our butter. We're going to let that melt a bit. And then we're going to add in our brown sugar and our spices with our apples. And we're just going to do this just until they get a little bit soft and brown up just a little bit. Then once we do that, we're ready to put our filling into our muffin tins, and then you can top that with some whipped cream, some ice cream, whatever it is that you'd like. Now you can use coconut oil here as well, but when it comes to baked products, I like using butter, at least in one step of it. Okay, so now we're going to add in some of our apples. Now we're going to add in our spices, just sprinkle this around. And our brown sugar. You're just going to want to cook this up for a couple minutes just till I said everything gets nice and soft. You can't have apple pies without brown sugar. Like I said earlier, coconut sugar is the other alternative that you can use. But I use the coconut oil in the crust. Now for the actual filling, I feel like you need the brown sugar and butter. If you're using a ton of apples like I am, you are going to make sure you want to just toss these around a little bit so every one of our apples is cooking evenly. Smells so good. So, I think we're all done. Now, you can cook this for as little or as long as you want. It just depends on how soft you like your apples. So I'm just going to bring you guys back over to the counter and we're going to fill these up and try some. Okay, so now we're all done and you should have something that looks like this. It smells so good. Now it's time for my favorite part. Let's pick which one I want. This one. Let's see. So good, you guys. This is such a perfect, healthy apple pie for you guys to try that you're not going to feel guilty about. Now, you definitely, in my opinion, have to use the brown sugar. I don't think coconut sugar would taste as good with all the different spices. And I do like that I made, even though it wasn't as easy as a big apple pie, I'm happy that I made the little ones. It's just so much better for portion control, and you can kind of control yourself a little bit by just having one instead of a giant slice. Now, if you guys decide to try this recipe, make sure to leave me your feedback in the comment section below. I will be looking for that. But that's all I have for this video today, you guys. I hope you liked it, and if you did like it, make sure to give this video a nice thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and a little bell so you don't miss another one of my videos. And as always, if you want to get my exclusive nutrition tips, healthy food recommendations, and delicious recipes just like this one, then make sure to head over to my description box, click the link, and join the fam. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.